Hello and welcome back to The Living Jesus. Peace be upon you all, angels of God. My name is Tiffany and this is my special guest today, Brother James.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. And once again, God bless all the Christians that tune in and all those truth seekers from all different faiths that tune in and want to learn more about this path. God bless you all.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here with me today. And today we actually have a very special topic, and it's related to you yourself and some of the work that you've done over the years in this call.
Yes.
Today, in honor of the birthday of Al-Sadiq from him his peace, which was yesterday, the
Indeed.
27th of July, we would like to focus on something beautiful that we have witnessed from Al-Sadiq, and that is the miracles that we have witnessed at his hands. And particularly when speaking to Christians, and our show is primarily, speaking to our Christian brothers and sisters out there, we want them to understand the beauty that we have seen from Al-Sadiq from him his peace. I mean, we talk a lot about religion, but we want to sort of reach the hearts of people today and talk about the amazing wonders that we've seen living with Al-Sadiq, the Qaim of the family of Muhammad, the awaited savior. Just like Jesus, who is known for his prolific miracles, he is known for being able to perform incredible miracles.
Exactly.
Al-Sadiq from him his peace, he's also able to perform miracles, and we've seen that.
And I think sometimes because there's so many logical proofs for Al-Sadiq that we've been able to work through, with the Holy Will, with the death of King Abdullah and all of this stuff, that we kind of almost don't mention the miracles because the overwhelming proofs are there with the logic of knowing the law about the Hujjah. So we emphasize this as critical proofs. And that is great, but the fact that the miracles exist is a miracle in itself. And even the will itself is a miracle as it stands.
It's true. The will and in and of itself, and the idea of successorship being this concept that is always preserved by God, like how Jesus, he claimed to be the Messiah mentioned, in the scroll of Isaiah. Nobody had claimed before him, right? So it's something that is miraculously preserved in the scriptures in order for the rightful claimant to come forward and to claim it. So for sure that is a miracle. But you have a really good point. Like, we've brought it up many times on our program about how there are only 3 foolproof criteria that somebody has to come forward with, and these are the 3 solid ways that you can prove that somebody is sent by God, and that is the proof of divine appointment, the display of divine knowledge, and the call to the supremacy of God. These are the 3 criteria that every person who was truly sent forward by God can prove that they have. But miracles are an important proof for people because they touch people's hearts. They're a way for people to witness God's presence in this world, and there's something tangible, that people are able to observe. And the synchronicity is the language of God, right? So we find that when people are there to observe certain signs, it becomes a powerful proof for them, and it becomes something that increases their faith.
Abraham had a similar story, didn't he? I think, where he he had a lot of knowledge and divine wisdom, and he just wanted a bit more yaqeen, maybe. So he asked God to prove through the stars and the planets. And when he saw that they setted, he realized that wasn't a sign that they were from God. That they were not. I mean, they were from God, but they weren't the complete picture. And he needed the affirmation of that to give himself more yaqeen. It wasn't necessary, but it was something that gave him more.
Right,
certainty.
exactly. So it can feed the soul. It can increase your certitude, and it can increase your faith. So it's something that we want to talk about and we want to highlight, because it's not something that you can use as an absolute proof, and we've gone into the details as to why that is. But it is something that really touches people's hearts, and we want people to know that Al-Sadiq from him his peace, much like Jesus, he has performed great wonders, and we are witnesses to that.
Yes, exactly.
You yourself, you worked on a program called Chasing a Miracle, right?
Yes.
And that's a program that has been long running. Actually, I think you guys started in, what was it, 2018 or something?
It's 2018, and it was around about the time that I joined the Divine Community. So obviously I'd been living apart from the community. I'd known about Al-Sadiq's call since 2011. Through the arrivals and the Tad series and was a dedicated follower and was constantly on Hashem forums, which was obviously a place where believers could meet and discuss the call and the truth and meet with other believers. And I was just completely blown away and wanted to be party to something bigger than what I could understand and comprehend. But the logical proofs are what defined it for me. And as someone who is always seeking logic to understand truth, it was like, the philosophy of Plato or Socrates that would define my understanding of the call. But I think it was almost like a gift from God that he said, well, you're a man of logic. Well, now try and find something that's not just based on logic to define the truth. Okay. And I think it was important for me as a believer because logic alone is interesting. But once you find the truth, you have to be prepared to be disturbed a little and shocked, and miracles can be that at first,
Yeah.
But not in a bad way, in a good way. And it just makes you realize, just like if you're a doctor or a lawyer, especially as a doctor, you think that you have mastery over the medical arts, but miracles happen as a doctor. And that was party to the first experience that we had, was evidently all about the miracle that defied a doctor's understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a miracle that we're going to highlight in this episode. Okay. The miracle of the resurrection of a sister who was a member of our community. Yeah. That is an incredible episode. I also want to mention that you work with Sarah Batul, and she's somebody who is I think she's in the process of writing a book about the miracles of Al-Sadiq from his peace in order to record them in history. So you guys together, you filmed this series.
Yes. Sarah was so creative and in terms of how she would put the episodes together as well. That was quite a miracle, and often as the person who was, working on the show, I didn't always know what she was planning sometimes with her creative energies, but it always worked out very interesting in the end, and it sort of matched in with the theme of the miracles she was working with.
Yeah,
I thought that was beautiful.
It must have been really cool for you guys to firsthand dive into the details of all of these stories.
Yeah, it's the testimonies that brings it to life, and it's like you said earlier, it's heartfelt. Yeah. People aren't talking about logical proof so much in the moment that they're going through that experience, and it's experiences that are often deeply connected to their family or their medical history or their personal issues, and seeing miracles come out of those problems they might have in life as well.
Yeah, there's a wide spectrum of the types of miracles that we've witnessed from Al-Sadiq, from his peace, and in this blessed call. If anybody wants to check out the videos of this series, Chasing a Miracle, and learn about the miracles of Al-Sadiq from his peace, and there are so many, there are many more than we can possibly cover in an episode. I highly recommend that you check out the YouTube channel, The Ahmadi Religion of Peace and Light, and you'll find there's a playlist on there called The Miracles of the Mahdi Al-Sadiq. And you should definitely check out all of them, watch them one by one. You will not be disappointed. They're incredible.
Exactly. And that was a miracle in the sense of the first miracle that I was sort of testifying with the believers of was one that happened, at the time I first arrived. So that was very lucky as well. Yeah. The timing was just so incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I wanted to first highlight a quote from the article, which you can find on the Divine Just State magazine website. It's an excerpt from Sarah Batul's book about the miracles, and I thought that it was really touching. She wrote, "Did you ever wonder what it must have felt like to walk alongside Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, and the prophets and messengers of the past? Today, that experience is not just a distant memory or a story from ancient times. Through the testimonies of the companions of the riser, we gain a glimpse into what it means to walk beside a man who carries the Spirit of God within him in our day and age, witnessing the unfolding of many miracles." So I think that says a lot, because I think that in our modern world, people, they read the Bible, right? And they read it almost like a book of fairy tales, like it's something that couldn't possibly happen in our modern world. Yeah. But we're here to say to people, we are with the Jesus of today, and that is Al-Sadiq, that is Abdullah Hashem from his peace. And, we are like those people who've witnessed incredible miracles in the time of Jesus, where, we're here to testify that we too have witnessed these things. And the first miracle that we want to highlight is something that happened really recently, and I think that many people are familiar with it, but for anybody who's not familiar with it, that is the miracle of the new Pope. This was incredible. Really incredible. Just off the bat, the shock of what happened. Yeah. And the fact that we'd raised the black banners 2015, and the death of King Abdullah of Hijaz, which was a miracle in itself. Yeah.
And then what happens, Tiffany? I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, it was so surprising. You can find this episode. It was recently released. You can find it on the Ahmadi Religion YouTube channel, and it goes in depth about the story. But basically, what happened is there was a group of believers who were really passionate, and they, we believe that Al-Sadiq is the true Pope, which means he is the true successor of Jesus in the world today.
And Pope is father, isn't it?
Pope means in essence, father.
Yeah? Which is such a cool thing. I didn't even realize that, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
As an agnostic, not a true Christian.
So the meaning of the word Pope is just father. And he is meant to be the inheritor of the successorship, which Jesus passed to Simon Peter. And so, we believe that the true successorship, the true line of successors went from Jesus to Simon Peter and eventually to the Prophet Muhammad and to his successors until Al-Sadiq, from his peace, who is the Imam, who is speaking to us today. He is the second Mahdi. So, yes, we believe that he is the true Pope. And we believe that the Pope who is sitting on, the throne in the Vatican is a false Pope. So these believers, they decided that they wanted to go to the Easter service, where the Pope would appear in St. Peter's Square and hold up the black banner, which is the banner of the Ahl Bayt that says allegiances to God.
I mean, it's a miracle they could even get in there in essence initially, with the banner, and it's a proof that God wanted that to happen.
And it did, as you can see on the screen. I mean, the brothers were there, and they had other signs, and they had T-shirts stating "Time has come for a new Pope." And they, they did it. They held up that banner, and that happened on live television.
It did, in front of the Pope, and he was there on the stand, wasn't he?
And he was there.
Alive, and
and so they faced him, and they faced him with this news that actually there is a true Pope, and you are not it, because God appointed a true Pope, and
a
that
clear
true Pope is
distinction, and that was a clear distinction for me, that you have a conclave, and a conclave is basically an elective, just like the Shura after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and that elective is not from God.
So Peter was appointed by Jesus, right? So Peter was appointed by God through Jesus, and now the Pope is not appointed like that. The Pope is not appointed.
So
by
he's
God,
a father of what? If he's not the father of God, he's the father of something else. So we shouldn't allow that to happen, and it's God that manifested this for us, I think.
Exactly. So at the same time, we had believers all around the world, and we can show a slide that has some of the locations where believers went out and they posted the same message: time has come for a new Pope. This was on Easter Sunday, so it was a specific date. It was a significant date for the Christians, and this was a message to the Catholics in particular, that the time has come for a new Pope. So
that was beautiful, because they went all over the world.
China to the Vatican City to the USA,
we had
all
people
over
in
the
Australia, in Colombia, I think, and there was a story about Ecuador, wasn't there?
Yeah, exactly.
There was a miracle story where someone heard about it beforehand and then read about what had happened and was in complete shock and awe.
Yeah, so there was a DJ who witnessed a girl putting up one of these posters, and then lo and behold, the next day we woke up to this news that the false Pope Francis had passed away.
Within less than 24 hours from
the time that he was faced with this message, and when the believers, went out in a unified way and they declared this message to the world, we saw that the Pope, this false Pope, passed away, and that was God's sign and miracle for the world to know that the message that they had delivered to him is a true message, which is that Al-Sadiq is the Pope who God has appointed. He is the Father who God has appointed in the earth.
And I thought it was a miracle as well, in the aspect that we had the proof, as I said before, from 2015, 10 years before virtually, to predominantly the Muslims, that the Shia and Sunni scholars were expecting and anticipating the death of King Abdullah of Hijaz, which was a guarantee for the forthcoming Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And then we have the same thing now to the West, to predominantly the Christians. And now the banner's getting out, not just to the East, but to the West. And we have the riser from the West. And it's like, wow, all these narrations are dovetailing and the miracles unfolding.
Absolutely. And what did we see coming out of this miracle? We saw the world knowing Al-Sadiq's name, we saw the word spreading around, whether people believed or didn't believe. Everybody was talking about Al-Sadiq and declaring that there is a man who's come forward and said that he is the new Pope. So this was again another miracle, because this was a way that many people heard about this call for the first time. This is the way that God reached many people. So it's been absolutely incredible.
YouTube channels and just common Christians.
Yeah.
And some sweet ladies were saying, you know, I've not dusted the Bible off the shelf for many years because I just couldn't bring myself to understand it properly anymore with the contradictions that I feel inside it. And then this man comes along and I suddenly feel like a fresh spirit to read it again.
Like,
and
even people who don't believe, they have observed that it's an incredible miracle. Like we were talking about this DJ Kosovo. I believe
he wasn't necessarily a believer, was he, in Christ?
He just saw the girl hanging up, this girl who was a believer hanging up these posters, and then it came to his mind the next day when he heard that the Pope had passed away, because he had a conversation with her and he said there is a Pope already. His name is Francis. Yeah. So then when he heard that Francis, the false Pope, had passed away, it came to his mind, oh my gosh, I remember what this girl was saying yesterday. And he actually made a video testifying about the fact that this was an incredible coincidence of events, and it was a miracle.
It's like also the concept, like you were saying, when a universal group of people to come together with the same belief and same faith, God can say be and it is ultimately. So miracles can happen through that conviction of the group.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was,
and I mean, it's been something that has been incredible to witness, and it's an undeniable miracle. And Al-Sadiq, from his peace, when he gave out a speech and he declared to the people that the successorship has been stolen and the Pope is a false Pope and you've been lied to, he actually brought up a story from the Bible, which is the miracle of the earth swallowing Korah.
I remember.
And this story actually parallels that in many ways, right? Because Korah was a man who led a rebellion against Moses and Aaron, because he said that the Israelites were all equally holy and they didn't need, a divinely appointed leader in Moses and his successor Aaron. So God showed the people who he was with. Was he with Moses or was he with Korah? The earth actually ended up swallowing Korah and all of his companions who were with him in this rebellion, and produced a clear sign for the people to see that he had chosen Moses.
And I think it's so critical. It's so critical because it's such a clear sign as well, because a lot of the Christians might say today, well, we all have the spirit of discernment upon us. And so if they're declaring that, yet they're divided upon themselves, and as you say, the group of Korah were obviously divided upon themselves, then look at the end result that happens.
I mean, God spoke, right? God spoke and he produced a sign for people who have eyes to see, as Jesus used to say. So this is an incredible miracle, and we can't call it anything less than that.
And the shockwaves that reverberated through the call of Al-Sadiq after that, in terms of the people accessing the videos and going to watch his sermons, it just exponentially rose dramatically, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Which was amazing.
This was God's plan, clearly, in order for many people to hear about this call.
And that is the will of God ultimately, that the messenger conveys the message. And how do you convey the message except for reach as many hearts and minds as you can in, I dare say, the shortest amount of time as possible? Why would you want to delay reaching out to the people and letting them hear the message? And I dare say, when people even say sometimes, why does he use social media, Al-Sadiq from his piece? Ultimately, how else would you reach the people in such a predominant way?
I mean, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to go from town to town in person when we actually have access to the internet and the whole world has the opportunity to hear simultaneously about this call. And of course, if there is meant to be a world savior, as many religions believe in that, right? Many religions believe in this concept of a world savior, it makes sense that he would be able to access the whole world, right?
Exactly.
And so that is the era of technology that we're living in, where the Mahdi, the savior of mankind, is able to come forward and he's able to give a speech, and everybody around the world is actually able to hear it. It's
a lot of sense.
It's absolutely so cool.
It is.
Now, the next miracle I thought that we could highlight is a very special one. It's very special in our community, and it's special to you as well, because you had mentioned earlier that it was the first one that you were able to document when you had just recently joined the community, and that is the miracle of the resurrection of Sister Shaheen.
It was incredible. I mean, it happened, as you say, very soon after. I think I got to help document this back in probably May 2018, something like that. but the miracle had sort of unfolded before I'd arrived. And I always remember, as a side note, when I was meeting the brothers for the first time, including the brothers that were going through this miracle, and it had been very difficult for them. They'd experienced some, some tough times. They didn't bring it up in front of me. They didn't show any sign of sufferance. They were very, very kind and very loving towards me. And I thought that was a sign of very good believers, But as the miracle unfolded and we got to speak to Brother Waqar, and he told us his testimony, and how it had been obviously a very difficult time, and Shaheen had been through such a hardship, and she'd been very stoic and not told people that she was suffering as much as she did, and her heart had virtually ceased to function.
Yes, yeah. Her heart was her heart basically gave out, right? She was in a medical crisis. She had a heart attack, and she was taken to the hospital, and she was given a very, very grim prognosis, right?
She was given a very grim prognosis, and it seemed that there was like in less than sort of 5% chance that she would actually recover at all. As it says there, only 5% chance of survival by Dr. Enleesh, who was a senior physician and the one operating on her. And he said, the chance of a good recovery, 1 or 2%. And in terms of his own analysis, he said it was like the chance of a comet hitting Tokyo.
Really?
Yeah, he testified to that on camera with us.
Yeah, you had the opportunity to actually go and interview this doctor.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't supposed to necessarily happen, but we went to the hospital with Brother Waqar. And we waited and waited and waited, and I don't know how many hours had passed, and suddenly he appeared, and he agreed to talk to us, which we were quite pleased about, especially as he'd been through that experience himself. And he said that very categorically. It was like the chance of this recovery would be like a meteorite hitting Tokyo, and that she had actually flatlined for more than an hour. And I know speaking to other doctors that normally it would be 5 or 6 minutes perhaps. And then obviously the chance of recovery from that position, or not to have any, I dare say, oxygen deprivation or permanent brain damage or whatever, must be very, very rare. And that doesn't even explain the miracle behind it in terms of her experience that she had. But that from the doctor's side is a miracle.
The doctor, he's not a believer.
He's not a believer.
I remember that he actually used the word miracle, right? In his
he did use the word miracle in his testimony,
which is incredible because, as you said, I mean, the scientific-minded people are not really prone to use this type of language. But because he had given such a grim prognosis, I mean, he himself saw and observed medically that this was not a likely thing, that she would even recover slightly, let alone have a full recovery. And as we know, this was many years ago, and she has had a full recovery, and she's doing great. She's extremely healthy, and she has no problems.
I mean, within just a few weeks or less than that of the actual operation and the recovery phase, I saw Shaheen, and she was walking very well. She seemed like a princess warrior, she seemed very strong and stoic. And
I would not have known. You really
I was
would
completely
not have known.
shocked by that. And it seemed clear that what Waqar had said in his testimony, that he believed that the only way that the recovery could take place if he had complete trust in God, and he let go of having Shaheen return for the sake of him, meaning that if she came back slightly sick or with permanent damage, he said, no, let her go. I only, for the sake of God, want her to come back to me.
Because that's something that Al-Sadiq, from him, his peace, he was with Waqar, right? And he said that miracles, they work from the man who has the Holy Spirit, but also the believer has to have faith, right?
Exactly.
So it's a two-sided thing. So he said from his side, she will be fine and she will recover. And then he placed it in Waqar's hands, and he said, if you have faith, then she will come back.
So Waqar had to have full yaqeen or certitude, as well as, I think in essence, to not want her for himself, but for the sake of God, and that she's a beautiful believer who would do much more works on the mission, and that her mission wasn't complete perhaps,
Exactly. And I know that she also felt that, and she had said that, she had said, like, my mission isn't complete. And she had a near-death experience, as you mentioned, she had flatlined for an hour. So in that time, she actually witnessed herself, right? She left her body, and she witnessed seeing herself lying in the bed. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, because it's very chilling.
It's incredible.
But she saw something, right?
She said she saw 4 of the imams, basically the Mahdis, and she literally saw
she saw Al-Sadiq
she saw Al-Sadiq from his peace. She saw Ahmad al-Hassan, she said, peace be upon him, and she also saw Musa alayhi salam.
The third individual mentioned as the third Mahdi.
So she had this vision, and then I think she then felt this, and I always remember the way that Sarah tried to bring it to life in the video, you know, this force driving the soul back into the body. So it's like the soul was being extracted and now it's being pushed back in. So it's like, you know, this battle between the soul being in this vessel or not anymore, which is a proof upon itself for so much more in terms of reincarnation, transmigration of the soul, and God knows what. But
definitely,
that was incredible, and God bless, I dare say, Sarah for putting that forward in her documentary and making it, you know, through the picture very clear to see. But wow, that she had that.
I mean, this is Sarah Batul's mother, actually, for anybody who's not familiar. Sarah Batul's father is Waqar and her mother is Shaheen. So she witnessed her mother, you know, going through this experience of actually dying. She was medically, you know, dead. Her heart had stopped. And then she came back to life by the power of Al-Sadiq from him his peace. And she came back for a reason. She came back because her work wasn't done here yet. And now she had a full recovery, and the doctor, who was not even a believer, testified to the fact that this was a miracle and this was not something that medically made any sense. Her heart was actually in good condition after that, right? And now she's an active member of the community. I know she cooks avidly for her family, and she helps raise her grandchildren. And you would never think that she'd experience such a, I dare say, heartache or whatever you want to call it. And she was literally shocked back to life by God, in essence. And how is that possible without the Qaim and the family of Muhammad and her faith? And like Jesus would say, you're as healed as much as your faith as well. I'm sure you know this better than me. There are verses where Jesus says, according to your faith, will it be done for you? So he made it very clear that faith plays a big role. And he even said once, like, if you have the faith as much as a mustard seed, then you could move mountains, you know? So basically your faith, you know, faith is the necessity when it comes to miracles. But this is something that is on par with the miracles of Jesus Christ. I mean, everybody knows that Jesus was able to bring Lazarus back from the dead, and that's actually something that Waqar said in his testimony, right? He said that I got to experience what it must have felt like to be Martha and Mary when their brother Lazarus came back from the dead, you know, before their eyes, because he witnessed his wife dead and then she was alive again.
And then she's alive again. So it's remarkable. It's hard to comprehend at first, but the way that it was done and the way that Waqar testified to it and the way that Shaheen brought it to life and the way that Al-Sadiq was there for them all to make it happen.
It is because of Al-Sadiq from him his peace and the, you know, the call that he has and the mission that he has, you know, and she wanted to be a part of that. So she came back to life, and
that's a great gift.
It's actually incredible to have witnessed that, and I'll never forget it. It's something that I remember very vividly.
I know that Waqar said it was almost like the faith burst from his heart, you know, like his heart just burst with pride and love for God and whatever God wanted, and then the miracle unfolds at this time, you know.
So the next miracle that I thought we could highlight is a really cool one and a really special one, and that is the disappearance of the moon. That was interesting. That was a special occasion once again in the community. I think this was all happening around about 2018. It was September of 2018.
It was indeed September the 14th, which was an auspicious day. It was the day of my marriage, in fact, which I'm not shy to mention. So it was a special day for me, which meant that it was a unique day on the calendar that I would never forget. But I didn't expect it to be met with such a moment as this.
There was a gathering of believers for this reason, right? It was a celebration of your marriage. And so there was in the community, I think 50 to 60 people, right? At
approximately.
The time, they're present for this miracle. And Al-Sadiq from him his peace was standing at the head of the crowd. And there were people behind him, right? So it was described as how you would envision like Friday prayer. So he was at the front and people were behind him.
Very much so. So we'd had a gathering, you know, we'd done the ceremonies and everybody was happy and in good spirits. And then he brought this gathering together, like you say, and we lined up behind him. And I guess we didn't really know what was about to happen, or well, obviously we were still doing many of the regular prayers then as well.
So he had made a comment about the moon, right?
He did.
And he said that the moon was like the moon at the time of the crucifixion of Jesus.
Yes.
And
he did.
Then I think that he also made a prayer. As far as I understand, he lifted up a prayer. And he said that he prayed for God to lift the burdens, and the hardships that the community had been going through.
Yes, he was obviously of the mindset that he was always thinking of the community, always protecting his community, and praying for the blessings to come raining down on the community. And if we'd been through hardships or there'd been some problems for the community, he wanted those averted or lifted. And obviously coming from God, God would bestow those blessings on his chosen living messenger, his living Jesus of the time, in essence. Yeah. So we had full faith in that happening, but we weren't expecting what else was about to happen.
So Al-Sadiq, he bows down in prostration, right, after making the prayer. And everybody bows, behind him. So everybody is in prostration to God.
Yes,
and
indeed.
Then when everybody comes back up, what did they find?
We find that there is no moon.
Yeah.
The moon is gone. I mean,
the moon that he had specifically
the moon that
mentioned.
he'd referred to directly, and this crescent moon that everybody could see very clearly. It was a very bright moon on that particular occasion. And as Tiffany said, and in symbolism to the fact that he said for the hardships to be lifted from the community, it was evidently a clear, critical sign to the believers and the people of the world, with ears to hear and eyes to see critically, that there was no moon present anymore. I mean, how more can you get clear than that?
So there's a testimony from Sister Tahani from the community, Tahani Hashem, the adopted daughter of Al-Sadiq, from him his peace. She said the moon disappearing symbolized all those trials and tribulations we were praying to be removed, and what had also been removed is what we had felt. After that, we knew that nothing is difficult for God. So God, he prayed, Al-Sadiq prayed that the hardships be lifted from the community, and then symbolically the moon, disappears as a way for people to know, that nothing is impossible for God, and they witness this incredible miracle.
It's very true, because if you think about this material universe and how we perceive maybe our personal struggles or the struggles of the community are overwhelming in our hearts sometimes, and we have to reflect and say, but if God can shift away the moon by the power of his faithful servant, his righteous servant, then that means there is nothing that is impossible for God. So it's a clear testimony that your faith and the faith of Al-Sadiq and our faith in him will allow his community to prosper and grow exponentially, as we have seen ripple out since. So,
absolutely.
Whatever hardship has come, it's always been a minor obstacle, and maybe just a test for the believers to see if they will remain firm on these waves that come in life. And that was a great miracle. And I remember when I reflected over the article today, they'd mentioned that it was around about the time that the Jordanian government were trying to put a block on the channel or something like that. So ultimately Al-Sadiq through the channel had revealed the nature of the Sufyani, and they didn't like that aspect. So
no matter what the obstacle, nothing is impossible for God, and nothing is too great for God. Even the things that define our understanding of the material universe, like the sun and the moon. This is not an unusual miracle when it comes to the story of religion, right? Because we have the story also in the religion of Islam where the Prophet Muhammad split the moon. And this is, a miracle in the same sense that God is testifying on behalf of the proof of God that he has power over the elements, right?
There you go.
And that his prayers, they hold weight with God, and God answers the prayers of his chosen one.
And how can we deny that when it says that the believers have faith in the unseen in the Quran, and that, as we spoke about in the episode when I came last time, it was about the angels, and the angels have power over the elements.
Exactly. And we know in the story of Joshua that he was actually able to make the sun stand still. That's present in the book of Joshua in chapter 10. that he spoke to God, and the sun stood still and the moon stopped. And so, the elements, these things that define our understanding of the natural world, like the sun and the moon and the cycle of the days, the proof of God is able to have some power and control over them. And Al-Sadiq, he proved that he is no different than these prophets and messengers that we have read about, that are present in our holy books. And we must acknowledge that, we have witnessed incredible miracles from the hands of Al-Sadiq.
Exactly. So these cannot be deemed just as fables in books. And in essence, he's affirming to miracles that have taken place at the hands of God's chosen ones before, like you say. And if it's Joshua, it's also Imam Ali, peace be upon him. The moon was held up for him as well, I think. And so these are very clear proofs and living miracles for the people if they have eyes to see.
Who love these figures, and they've read their stories and they've taken them as the heroes, throughout time, and the people who you look up to. Al-Sadiq, from him is peace, he has demonstrated that he is from the same God, as they were sent from.
And all these people that attest to these statements, I mean, let's be honest, they haven't witnessed it themselves, but they accept it based on the criteria that prophet and messenger came with glad tidings and was a truthful messenger, and then they accept the miracles that they bestow as well from the teachings they read.
There are tons of witnesses, alive in the world today who saw this incredible thing happen.
But in terms of us, we've all witnessed it, and many of our believers have witnessed these miracles of Al-Sadiq.
Absolutely. And another incredible miracle that I want to briefly mention is that Al-Sadiq, like Jesus, is able to heal the blind, and actually he did so for a member of our community.
Yes.
Rauda, Sister Rauda. And I would like to read the quote. She put her story into words, and this is her testimony. She said, "I was outside my bedroom when all of a sudden everything turned dark in one eye. It was as if my eye had shut, but I knew it was open. My vision felt strange. I ran to the mirror, panicking, trying to open it. So her eyelid was open, and yet her vision remained black. And Al-Sadiq reached out and touched my eye. Within seconds, my vision returned. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was as if relief hit my eye, and slowly my sight came back." So, wow. I mean, she's panicking. Her eye is open, but she can't see out of one of her eyes. And I mean, I can't imagine how scary that would be, because you don't know what's caused it, you don't know what's going on. And there was also the testimony of the doctors. We have a few medical doctors who live in our community, and they're there to consult people, on medical issues. So they also were not sure what was happening, and they were concerned for her. And Al-Sadiq,
there was nothing they could do specifically at the time to assist her.
Right. So they weren't really sure what the diagnosis was. Tests would have to be done. You don't necessarily know the root cause of what's happened just on the observation and evaluation.
There was no obvious thing that had happened to
she didn't get an injury. It wasn't
to create this scenario, in the first place.
But Al-Sadiq, with the touching of her eye, he was able to restore her vision. And
this is such a miracle.
Is not a biblical miracle,
it's such a biblical miracle.
What that is. I mean,
it's such a Jesus miracle. It's such a Jesus testament of what Jesus would talk about and what Jesus did, and his apostles witnessed on a regular basis.
So I mean, we have the stories of Jesus making mud and putting it onto people's eyes and being able to restore their sight. We have the stories of Jesus laying on his hands and being able to heal people,
heal lepers. And all of these scenarios took place.
And even just people touching his garment, they were able to be healed just by touching, the clothes that had touched his body. So this power of the healing touch, this is the power that Jesus had. And for many Christians, if you ask them why they would have believed in Jesus, many of them, they jump to the miracles, right?
Of course they say,
Jesus could bring the dead back to life. Jesus could heal people with his
heal
touch.
The blind, bring the dead back to life. And then what do we see in our call? All of those things happening.
We see it in Al-Sadiq.
Al-Sadiq
is the Jesus of our age, So for anybody who reads the Bible and they love Jesus, Al-Sadiq is here. Al-Sadiq, from his peace, he has done the same miracles that
Exactly.
Jesus Christ performed.
Yeah.
And we're witnesses to that, you know. And we saw and we know. And I see Rauda every day, and her vision is fine, and she, you know, she's back to normal.
She is,
and that's
as
only
if it
by
never
the-
happened, you know, because you look at her now, she's doing so well.
Yeah.
And like Shaheen as well.
Exactly.
They
like
are
Shaheen
proofs
as well.
of this, you know.
Yeah. Al-Sadiq, from him his peace, restored them.
Yes. He did, and I hope the Christians can take this to heart and recognize this, and want to investigate these miracles that we're testifying to, because they are all catalogued and they are in a series of videos that you can watch.
Yeah.
And as you see, as Tiffany clearly outlines, that they are all cross-referenced to the miracles that Jesus talked about as a living proof for him in many ways, you know.
And for people who, you know, they take these stories that are written in the Bible as evidence that Jesus was sent by God, you know, we are here to give you the same news. You know, we're here to say that Al-Sadiq has done so in this day and age, and he is able to heal the people. And I think that we have maybe time for just one more.
Okay.
You know, we could briefly go over.
Yeah, and these really are a drop in the ocean, but obviously that's one of the major ones. Is the first one that we mentioned, and the second one, and the third one.
Yeah,
but there are many others, many others.
Many others. But you know, since we're speaking about healing, then maybe it would be best to go over the healing of Lady Leila, because Lady Leila is a miracle in and of herself.
She is.
She is a woman who is incredible. She is such a pillar of belief, and
pillar of faith in the community, who's been here stoically with the Waqar family for so many years now.
Yeah,
supporting Al-Sadiq through all health issues.
She was born in Pakistan, and then she moved to the UK early on in her life, and she raised her children largely as a widow. Her husband passed away, right?
True.
So she was a widow, and she raised her children and then her grandchildren. And she is just an incredible woman, and she would not be stopped because of her health issues. You know,
she's such an example to the community when she goes and does her live shows, or she speaks
you might know
to the
her.
people
you may have seen her from our
in the Urdu
because,
shows, and she'll do that even if she had dialysis from her own self, and she would insist to do that.
She
you know,
cannot rest because she has to declare this news to the people.
Or she's lying in the bed and in the hospital bed, and she's looking at the channel and watching the video.
There have been 3 incredible occasions where she was healed by Al-Sadiq from his peace. So she had cancer.
True.
And basically, it was a situation that they thought was going downhill. They thought that the cancer was going to cause her to not be operated on, because she also simultaneously had a kidney failure.
Yeah, you can imagine in an older person having cancer and kidney issues as well at the same time. How can you operate? You know?
Yeah. I mean, so basically, miraculously, the cancer actually stopped spreading. Al-Sadiq, from him his peace, he visited Lady Leila in intensive care, and he placed his hands over her side, and he recited something. And then the next day, the doctors found that the cancer had stopped spreading, and they were able to successfully remove one of her kidneys, because they weren't going to be able to, do this operation with success if the cancer was still spreading throughout her body. Yeah. And she has now been cancer-free for many, many years. This was a long time ago. Many years ago that this happened, and she was put on like a special diet to prevent the cancer from recurring.
But that
the second healing was paralysis. You can see, if we can bring up the photos from 2020, on the left side she was completely paralyzed on one side of her body, and that's because she had a seizure. And then Al-Sadiq, from him his peace, he sent a video for her to watch, and she watched the video. And miraculously, she was back to normal within 1 hour. She had been paralyzed, for a long time, and she went to the hospital, and they were trying to figure out what was going on with her. And she just saw Al-Sadiq's face and heard his voice, and she was healed. And she was back, as you can see on the photo on the right. Within an hour, she was actually. It's
such a proof for the faith of the individual in the belief of the messenger.
Exactly. Now, this is a woman whose faith sustains her, you know. God, you know, the healing from God is present, and the healing that needs to come from the believer is very strong.
Her faith is ironclad, so
Exactly.
anything is possible for someone who has faith, and the living messenger is present with her, you know.
Yeah, and she also experienced a heart attack, and she was in very poor condition, and we have a photo of her before Al-Sadiq visited her and after Al-Sadiq visited her. After, you know, the doctors were very negative about her condition. It looked like she wasn't responding, things were not going well. Al-Sadiq, from his peace, visits her, and he lays his hands on her and he prays. And then she is healed. She is miraculously healed. Her heart returns to a normal rhythm.
Incredible.
She's able to go home shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
And Dr. Irfan testified as to the fact that the doctor said, sometimes miracles happen.
There you go.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah, just like with the Turkish doctor
Exactly.
in reference to Shaheen.
So even the doctors, you know, across the world have testified as to the fact that Al-Sadiq, from his peace, is a miracle worker, and this is who he is, and we are so happy to be able to share these heartwarming stories with the world and testify on his behalf. And we really hope that you'll check out the series of James and Sarah, the
God bless
Chasing
you so
a
much.
Miracle series.
It's a miracle, and it is a living miracle to be with Al-Sadiq, because he is that living miracle, and we just want other people to realize it for themselves, and it brings great comfort to the hearts of the believers, like it did with and does with Jesus.
Yes,
Peace be upon him.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
me today,
Thank you
James.
for
It's
being
been
here.
wonderful talking to you,
God bless
and
you,
God bless you all.